Important thing to be able to do and understand in a web application is to move data from a controller to the view. Now, in previous movies we've already kind of hinted at this because you've seen this thing called ViewData, which stems from a ViewData dictionary, and we also briefly saw this thing called ViewBag, which actually has a similar heritage in the construction. So, and we've also know that with a MVC we have a thing called models. So we're going to use these three concepts to be able to pass data from our controller into our view, which is going to be essential for any kind of decent web application. So let's run through these. I'm using the GitHub repo here, the sample site again, so I'm assuming that you've already got that set up, and we're going to use a subset because we've got a controller here called data examples controller, and that's got a call to a number of actions here to different views. We've got a ViewBag demo, ViewData demo, and then there's a model demo. So there's the three concepts that we're going to look at here. So each one of these has got its own view. So in the views there we've got data examples, and there's the three views. So we're going to start with this ViewBag demo here. Okay, so in our controller then what we can do is we can use this thing called ViewBag, and you can use dot syntax to apply things like strings. You can apply primitive or complex objects to that, and they are then available inside of the view. So if I've got an action, a ViewBag demo, I can create myself a couple of ViewBag properties there, greetings and name, and then I return view. If I then go and look at the view itself, I can then reference those with razor syntax by just saying at ViewBag dot, and then pick up the names of the properties that were set there. So here it is in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio. There is the view, and if I want to go and look at the controller, the data example controller, you can see there's the values set there. So if we fire up the application via localhost, we should be able to see that in action. So in the demo site, there are the three examples listed here. So there's ViewBag demo. So we go to that. We can see data retrieved from ViewBag. There's hello Fred. Okay, which equates to hello Fred inside of there. So if we change that to hello Jane, and we just fire it back up again, you should see that value change, just to indicate that the value has been successfully updated and sent from the controller to the view. So we go to ViewBag demo, and there we go. Great. Okay, so that's ViewBag. So use this dot syntax, you create them inside the controller, and they are then available to you inside of the view. Similar to that is ViewData. So ViewData again allows us to set values in the controller and send them through to the view. It's has a requirement to be typecast. That's the only difference, although you rarely actually see that making any difference to your application. In terms of syntax, we use ViewData greetings. You use the square brackets here to assign them. So these keys actually can be strings with white space in if you chose to do that. And you assign the values, you return the view, and then you can use that ViewData to retrieve them. Now, ViewData we've actually seen right from the go in these in the MVC world, because in any given view, if I go to the ViewData one here, you usually have up here ViewData title being used to set the title of the page. That's the kind of convention used in MVC. So that's just an example of ViewData that we have kind of seen all the way through our look at MVC. So notice that you can create these in the view, that's no problem. we could have created that in the controller as well. So there's my ViewData greeting and ViewData name that it will be picking up from here. So we've got hello Joe. So we'll fire that up. So over we go to localhost again. So this is the ViewData one. So notice that we've got that's our controller pattern, and then that's our action ViewData demo, and there is hello Joe. Okay, so they're very similar. They're both but actually kind of based on a dictionary. Given that they've both got that similar hierarchy in terms of the way they're constructed in C#, if you are going to mix ViewData and ViewBag, which you can do, don't use the same key value because you'll find yourself getting in a bit of a mess. Okay, but for simple data, small amounts of simple data, they're both equally valid approaches for moving data from the controller to the view. Now, a more sophisticated and robust method that we'll see when we move into the world of databases is through the use of models. So what we could do is we could, in our models folder, we could create ourselves a C# class, which would represent a model. So I've created one here called book.cs, and so we've got a C# class which is defining a book title, a book author, and both as strings and a date time of publish date, and they've both got get set applied to them. So we could create that model, and then what we could then do is in the controller we could make we could use that object model to create an object. So I create myself a var of book here, which is a new book, and then I assign the free properties in. And then what I can do is I can send that model in a technique known as known as a view model. I could send that through to the view. So in the return view here, we could actually plonk the model in there and just feed it in as a parameter to the view, and then it's available to the view. So all those will be available, and it will be understood so that IntelliSense will be able to list those for us as we write our code in the view. So over in the view, just at the top of the razor block at the top of the view, where you usually will find the title set for the page, we could use a directive to say, okay, we're going to use a @model, and then you need the namespace of where your model is. So we're going to use your app name, models book in this instance, and then that means that in my razor within the view, I can use @model with a capital M to then reference the properties within that. So let's go and look at that over here in Visual Studio. So again, you've got inside of the controller there is our model demo, which you've just seen in the web page, and I should show you over here in models. There's the book's model, a simple model. So I'm going to create the object based on the model there, and then we pass that through to the view. So if I now go down to the view, so this is going to call a view called model demo following the naming convention, and there's our two values. So we did have we had a publishing date as well, so we could make use of that. So I could stick in another row with my clumsy HTML coding. So we'll have a TD, so it's going to be published date, isn't it? So published date. So there's no reason why these can't be spaced out a bit more, make them a bit more presentable. So they aren't actually values, that's just HTML, and then underneath, as soon as I hit razor, so @model, it knows what I'm talking about. So you can see there we've got published date listed, so there's the IntelliSense kicking in, and that's the benefit of a model. Oh, that's clumsy typing on my part, so that's the one I want. There we go. Right, so we'll save that. Let's fire up our old local host. So over it goes. Takes a second to kick in. So there's our view model. So we go to a view model, and you can see there's the published date appearing. So if you've got more complex data to send from the controller through to the view, it makes sense to create a model. We're definitely doing that when we bring databases into the mix. If you've just got simple variables, then either ViewBag or ViewData are equally appropriate. Okay, thank you.